Adventures North is brought to you in part by Lund Boats, Mercury Outboards, and Tourism Quebec.
Welcome to Adventures North. I'm your host, Steve McInnes. On this adventure, we're taking you with us on a really special road trip to the Red Lake Touring Region, located in northwestern Ontario, Canada. It's not very often that we cover locations that can be reached by a paved highway, but since we've discovered this spectacular drive through the wilderness, we can't get enough of it. There are thousands of square miles to explore, ranging from roadside waters along the way to remote fly-in only sections of this huge wilderness area. There's great campsites at lakeside parks, drive-in and fly-in fishing lodges, fabulous summer festivals, friendly communities, plus legendary fishing, waterfowl, and big game hunting. This is Drive to Adventure in the Great Outdoors at its best.
Your journey begins in Vermilion Bay at the junction of Highway number 17 and Highway number 105. As you travel north on scenic number 105, sit back and enjoy the relaxing drive from your front row seat to the natural beauty of this special part of the world. See the many shades of green, beautiful lakes and streams, and the spectacular scenery in the heart of the Canadian Shield. As you wind your way northward through the hilly terrain, the view is an ever-changing scene characterized by a labyrinth of water, thick forests, and rugged granite rock. This 120-mile stretch of road is the most northerly paved highway in Ontario, providing access to some of the province's best fishing lodges, resorts, and recreational areas. Throughout the trip through this wilderness, you have a real chance of observing some of the many species of wildlife that call this home. The region boasts one of the highest concentrations of moose found anywhere. There's white-tailed deer, fox and wolves, black bears, a multitude of waterfowl, and other birds including raptors like bald eagles, hawks, and osprey, as well as upland game birds like the spruce grouse and the ruffed grouse.
It's remarkable how much wildlife there is all around you. Although there are no guarantees when it comes to observing wildlife, a trip down this road is about as close as you can get. In our view, it's one of the best, easy-to-access places there is to see one of Canada's most famous wilderness icons, the moose. Here's a glimpse of some moose encounters we've had alongside the road.
The first town in the Red Lake Touring Region is Ear Falls, the bald eagle capital of North America. In the late 1920s, a power dam was built at Ear Falls, providing the electricity to develop the mines in nearby Red Lake and allowing control of flooding along the English River system, including Lac Seul. When the road reached Ear Falls in 1947, it brought with it adventurous tourists eager to experience the untouched wilderness. Today, the town is a modern community with attractions like a golf course, museums, stores, and services, plus over 40 resorts in the area offering great fishing, hunting, and wilderness experiences.
One of the coolest things about bald eagles is their remarkable comeback from the brink of extinction, brought on from the devastating effects of DDT on the environment decades ago. Today, bald eagles have repopulated much of their historic range throughout North America, and the number of nesting pairs in the Ear Falls area is a testament to their comeback.
Brought to you in part by Mercury Outboards.
Never gonna have to face the taste of Geritol, not with the way I drive. Yeah, I take lots of chances.
It's in the middle of the Precambrian Shield. It's rugged. We've got fresh river water to swim in. We can swim in front of main stage. You got great old growth forest trees all around you. It is without a doubt one of the premier music festivals in this part of the country.
As you can see, the atmosphere is that, you walk from a stage, you walk 50 feet, and then there's a big campfire with more people sitting around. And tonight you'll find a bunch of people hanging out here playing. All the performers and non-performers, but everybody gets together and shares. It's still small, and it's what a folk festival is supposed to be. It's not in concert, it's people sitting around, sharing ideas, music, all that kind of thing.
Up above, the northern lights are like a burning shrub, and I've been dreaming this land.
Don't get me wrong, she's much more than this song. Don't get me wrong.
If you could dance, just like flowers in the rain. If you could go waking in the haze, bone train, riding on bone train. Riding on bone train with a memory.
The artists come from all over North America, and they're rock bands, they're blues bands, they're Celtic musicians, they're fiddlers, they're singer-songwriters, and they're young kids on their first gig, and they're old veterans entertaining an audience, and it's just an amazing experience to enjoy.
Chenier Falls. It's about as far north as I've ever played. It's beautiful.
The best thing about this festival, the music, of course. When I come up to Canada to play any folk festival, I'm a happy camper, no pun intended. But it's a special thing. It's a real special thing.
As you continue northward en route to Red Lake and the end of the road, there are more great places to stop and visit or stay along the way. A little further along the road is the Griffith Mine site. The rehabilitated iron ore mine is now a blossoming nature area and wildlife habitat, with a beautiful lake and a maze of roads and hiking trails you can use to get around the large area. At the end of Highway number 105, you will find yourself in the picturesque municipality of Red Lake, gateway to the Woodland Caribou Park and the Norseman capital of the world. It really is the end of the road and the jumping off point for all types of outdoor adventures. Nearby lodges, camps, motels, restaurants, businesses, and the friendly people of Red Lake make it so easy to enjoy this wilderness paradise. Charter a float plane for an aerial tour, hike the Millennium Trail, check out the northernmost golf course in Ontario, hire a guide, or rent a boat and take in the beauty of Red Lake from the water. The fishing in the region is legendary, with incredible angling opportunities for walleye, the larger, more aggressive northern pike and muskie, smallmouth bass, and in the deeper bodies of water, lake trout. From roadside boat launches to drive-in lodges to remote fly-in resorts and outposts, there are a lot of options for anglers. The quality of fishing in places like Lac Seul and the English River System, Packwash Lake, Red Lake, Gull Rock Lake, and throughout the Woodland Caribou Park cannot be understated. Local fishing tournaments attract some of the top professional anglers in North America who come to experience the extraordinary fishery.
Good fish, a lot of big fish. And most of them are going back in the lake too. That's what's neat about it.
Brought to you in part by Lund Boats. Take in the history and culture of Red Lake through the recently opened Heritage Center. Interpretive displays cover the local gold mining industry, the fur trade, and local First Nations themes and artifacts. There are displays on aviation in the north and the history of logging, freight hauling, and development in the region.
Basically, these are 24 calendars that were collected by Frank Reed, who was a local here. He lived in Koshner, and he was a company store manager for the Hudson Bay Company for a year. And he collected all these beautiful calendars, and his son Graham donated them to us, and we decided to make an exhibit out of it and put them all up. Norville Norriso is an artist here with a bit of a local connection. He lived and worked here for a number of years, and he's, I don't know, I guess you could say he sort of started his art here. He would just draw and paint and, you know, sell his art to anybody who'd look at it. And we've got some images down here of examples, and these are actually from local residents. So it's sort of a private collection. It's pretty amazing the number of people that actually have Morriso art here. You'll probably recognize this style of art. It's woodland art, and it's very popular throughout Canada.
One of the highlights of summer in Red Lake is the Norseman Festival weekend. From kids' entertainment and float plane rides to the pilots' reunion, the beer gardens and live bands playing for enthusiastic crowds, it's a great time to visit. There are shops, craft booths, food stands, activities and displays set up all along Howie Street. Stroll down to the town dock and climb aboard a Norseman float plane and experience what the area looks like from the air in one of these vintage aircraft. Sunday marks the finals of the Norseman Games with unique crowd pleasers like the famous float pumping competition. And the highlight of the festival, the Norseman Float Plane Parade and Flyby. The roar of radial engines and the final low-altitude flyby and wing dips is a scene reminiscent of a World War II era squadron. These classic aircraft are still commercially operating and have played an important role in the history of Red Lake, as well as Canadian aviation.
If I can have your attention for just a couple seconds there, before you do too much visiting. Everybody's got seatbelts. Please wear them at all times during the flight. It can be pretty rough and choppy, especially on lake and boats. We have emergency briefing cards, sick bags, and life jackets in the back. You open these back doors just by lifting the handle up or down to open the door. 2 exits up front where we're sitting. Open these up. Somebody can sit up front if you want. That's the best. Yeah, good thing.
Not many machines that were built 70 years ago are still in operation today. Remarkably, these historic Norseman aircraft have been in continuous commercial operation since about 1937. The first one was built in 1935, and after a few years of refinements and additions, like a more powerful 600 horsepower engine, the Norseman Mark IVs and later Mark VIs started rolling off the assembly line. The Royal Canadian Air Force had a fleet of 79 Mark IVs by May 1940. Out of a total of 903 of the aircraft made, 750 of them were the popular Mark VI model, built between 1943 and 1959. The original cost of a brand new Norseman was $23,500, which is just a small fraction of the cost of owning and operating one of these classics today. The Norseman was the first aircraft specifically designed for flying in the Canadian wilderness, and it was also the first aircraft designed with flaps. As these airplanes spread out across Canada's bush country, they opened up access to the previously unreachable northern and wilderness areas. It's hard to imagine a plane built with Sitka spruce frame wings and covered with a cotton fabric would change and influence aviation as it has, and last like it has. The Norseman is perfectly suited to transport in the bush. They can haul a big load, they're rugged, easy to repair, and quickly adaptable to wheels, skis, or floats. Despite its roots as the quintessential Canadian bush plane, the Norseman was also used in military, freight, and civilian operations in 56 countries around the world. Today, more Norsemans have survived in northwestern Ontario than anywhere else, and the planes still play an integral part in the movement of goods and services to the inaccessible wilderness beyond the reach of roads. With something like only 20 Norsemen on floats still in commercial operation, if you want to see and experience these fantastic flying machines, you can take in Red Lake's annual Norseman Festival and experience these legendary aircraft in person.
There's nothing like it
We
anywhere
go to all
else in the
kinds
world.
of air shows all over the Western Canada, and the Norseman Festival happens to be a very distinct one because of the type of aircraft and the fact that they're getting to be very rare in Canada.
When they go over, it makes your heart go boom boom, and it makes your chest just brrrr, because they're so noisy and they're just great. Great town too.
Closed captioning of this program provided in part by the Red Lake Touring Region. Red Lake is the access point for flying into the Woodland Caribou Park. The park is vast, with thousands of square miles of totally pristine wilderness. It's part of the largest tract of natural boreal forest left on the continent. With roughly 1,000 visitors per year in the park, it's one of Canada's least visited but most spectacular wilderness parks.
We're bringing information to our local folks and our visitors while they're visiting the Norseman Festival. So we're just providing information on woodland caribou and other Ontario parks locally, and the museum park merchandise as well. So we're having a great weekend here.
Tell us a little bit about the Woodland Caribou Park.
Similar to what you would expect to find at Quetico, except that what I often hear is that it's Quetico 50 years ago. We have less than 1,000 paddlers visiting the park for a park of the similar size as Quetico. Wilderness, canoe, camping, that's what the park is about. 1.2 million acres, so lots of available room, a lot of solitude, and it's worth the extra few miles to get up here to visit the park. Say about 80% are from the Midwest states, and then we have some about 5% are foreign, Switzerland, Germany, England. We have some folks from England, and then the rest of Canada as well.
My husband is coming along. He's been canoeing for 40 some years. And then we have our friend Linda, who is from Bremerton, Washington, and a frequent canoeing partner of ours. And our friend Haynes from Canoe, Georgia, outside of Atlanta. That's our crew.
Well, let's see, getting out of the Georgia heat, getting into some good Canadian weather up here. Looking forward to fish. We don't get fish like this down in Georgia. And paddling's my life. Love it.
This is going to be a great time. Lots of fish, lots of blueberries, lots of cranberries, lots of paddling.
There is so much more to see and do in the region. Drive the 105 and see the wilderness. Spot a moose, cast for a lunker, fly in a float plane, rent a cabin or a room, breathe fresh air, dance under the stars at a festival, enjoy clean, unpolluted lakes, or fly into the Woodland Caribou Park and paddle the remote wilderness for a week.
As you leave Red Lake and head down the 105 highway towards home, you still have a few hours of adventure ahead. Besides the guarantee of great scenery along the way, each trip on the 105 has the potential to serve up your next great wildlife encounter or the perfect light on a picturesque spot for your last few photographs. If the area, facilities, events, and people have the same effect on you as they've had on us, you'll be returning again to drive the 105.